US President Donald Trump has announced the deployment of an additional 5,000 troops to Poland. The erratic American policy move has left European NATO partners increasingly unclear about which areas they should prioritize as they formulate defense strategies. The US Secretary of State Marco Rubio says goal is to have a stronger NATO. Our next report gets you more details.
That sounds like a breaking story, yes, sir. Is that breaking news? I think we just have breaking news. But that's the fact. I've been saying that. Why would we be there for them if they're not there for us? They weren't there for us.
In March, President Donald Trump hinted that the US may not be there for NATO. He criticized European NATO allies over their refusal to send military to help secure Hormuz. Trump's statements have left Europe on the tenterhook. A week ago, the Pentagon indicated that Washington is chalking out plans to reduce its troop presence in Europe by around 5,000 personnel. Earlier this month, Trump announced he would be withdrawing 5,000 troops from Germany following a spat with Chancellor Friedrich Merz over Iran war. The U.S. officials had earlier confirmed that nearly 4,000 soldiers would no longer be deployed to Poland as part of a broader reassessment of American military commitments in Europe. Now, after weeks of uncertainty, Trump has once again changed the script. The U.S. president has made a surprise announcement on social media. He has vowed to deploy an additional 5,000 troops to Poland. Trump has cited his friendship with right-wing Polish President Karol Nawrocki. Poland has welcomed Trump's latest move.
I want to thank President Trump for his announcement that the rotation, the presence of American troops in Poland will be maintained more or less at previous levels. I want to thank the President and everybody who contributed to this decision.
The sudden about-face deployment has deepened confusion surrounding the Trump administration's approach to NATO allies and its long-term commitment to maintaining a military presence in Europe.
Well, it is confusing, indeed, and not always easy to navigate. I guess you feel the same as I do. But we need to continue to focus on what we do and not what everyone else says. So we need to continue to invest in our own defense and our capabilities.
Though the NATO chief, who has tried hard in recent months to soothe Trump's displeasure with his allies, has cautioned Europe.
But let's be clear. The trajectory we are on, which is a stronger Europe and a stronger NATO, making sure we will, over time, step by step, be less reliant on one ally only, as we have been for so long, which is the United States.
At present, the U.S. maintains approximately 80,000 to 100,000 military personnel stationed across Europe. However, the U.S. military posture in Europe has become highly unpredictable due to conflicting actions of Trump.
You know, what's happening now is that any decision that's announced or made is viewed through the broader context of some of the, the frictions that we've had in recent months. But at the end of the day, I think it's well understood in the alliance that the United States troop presence in Europe is going to be adjusted. That work was already ongoing, and it's been done in coordination with our allies. I'm not saying they're going to be thrilled about it, but they certainly are aware of it. We have obligations in the Indo-Pacific, we have obligations in the Middle East, we have obligations in the Western Hemisphere. So this has been an ongoing process. Shouldn't be a surprise to anybody.
It remains unclear whether the new deployment includes the same soldiers as those the Pentagon said would no longer be deployed to Poland, or if they will include redeployments from Germany. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Well, to discuss more on this, joining us live from Washington, D.C. is John Edith. He is a Senior Policy Director for the Center for Arms Control and Non-Proliferation and a former member of the U.S. delegation to NATO. Welcome to WION World is One, John. We know that just days after the White House signaled a troop pullback from Europe, Donald Trump suddenly announces 5,000 additional troops for Poland while still threatening reductions elsewhere. What do you think exactly changed? What do we call it? Strategy, improvisation?
I think that's a very good term, except that there doesn't appear to be any strategy. There's a great deal of improvisation going on. The announcement that the planned deployment to Poland would be canceled was one that came from the Pentagon, not the White House. So it's unclear if the White House knew very much about it. What is clear is that there was a strong reaction to this, a negative reaction, including in the U.S. Congress. And so that apparently is what got the president to reconsider and to make this other announcement. But with both announcements, details are lacking. So we don't know exactly what troops are involved. We don't know if it is the same group that was originally going to Poland or something else. And we don't know very much about the long-term picture of the U.S. presence in Europe. So these are all questions that are going to have to be answered in the coming weeks.
John, definitely this does look like an apparent U-turn because U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance had just defended cancelling a similar deployment, calling it a very minor thing. And European allies are now openly calling the messaging confusing. You have been a member of the U.S. delegation to NATO. Based on that experience, how rattled do you think NATO is right now by these sudden reversals from Washington?
I think that it's unclear to most allies what the strategy is, if there is one. But this is something that they should be accustomed to from the Trump administration now. It is an improvisational group of people. That's how they operate, and this is something that should be known in NATO capitals, in effect, to expect the unexpected. When I was at NATO, these things were done with serious amounts of coordination ahead of time, often planned months in advance. Those days apparently are over.
All right. Thank you, John, for sharing your insight. And we know that this comes ahead of the NATO summit in Ankara, where allies wanted to showcase unity and higher defense spending. Instead, it looks like troop confusion and Washington's unpredictability could dominate the conversation. Thank you for joining us here at the broadcast.
You're very welcome.